qu'un jour, il y aura des transports en commun absolument partout. Peut-être qu'un jour, on pourra se téléporter en vacances ou ramener ses enfants de l'école en drone. Peut-être qu'un jour, on pourra tous travailler à distance. Peut-être qu'un jour, on n'aura plus besoin de sa voiture. Mais aujourd'hui, pour des millions de Français, elle est essentielle. Alors pour la rendre plus simple, économique et solidaire, on a créé Roule. Roule, le club automobile ouvert à tous.
Welcome everybody to the Barcelona circuit, just up the road from the city centre. It's great access here and a wonderful place to come motor racing as well, because this track, regardless really of category, produces some really enthralling stuff, especially when we're talking about a 25-minute sprint race plus the extra lap for the Alpine ELF Cup, the ELF Europa Cup, back again. Exactly the same weekend as it appeared here in Spain last year to coincide with the 24 hours of Barcelona. It's me, Johnny Palmer, joined by Peter Mackay. And although, PMAC, this is your first time commentating on these cars, just like me, you have become an instant fan. You've not even watched them properly race yet. That they sound superb, and we reckon to be able to drive these cars, it will be quite an experience.
I'm a huge fan of the Alpine A110 anyway. They're actually the driving school cars at my home circuit, Knockhill Racing Circuit. So
okay.
Many fans have enjoyed them on circuit at Knockhill, and also they're the base of a very cool rally car as well, the A110 RGT, which Sébastien Loeb won a round of the French Rally Championship in just last weekend against all the four-wheel drive cars. So these are amazing machines, and you just have to pick up any motoring magazine to read the reviews of an Alpine A110 and it's 5 stars across the board. Really cool racing machine. These Cup versions have got a little bit more power, 300 horsepower, and the biggest difference I would say to the road car is the gearbox. It's a proper racing sequential gearbox. Makes these cars fantastic, but as we can see in our pictures here, they're a beautiful, smooth, elegant shape. There's no additional aero, so the cars move around quite a bit, and for us in the entertainment business, that's a very good thing.
These cars are qualified then across 2 different sessions to produce grids for a race today and a race tomorrow. The slightly unusual thing about the support categories here in Barcelona is that they all have to be done by midday tomorrow to make way for the 24-hour race. So that's the reason why we have a Friday evening race start. It's quite a nice time to do it, though. Although, having said that, in our commentary position, I'm really struggling with the setting sun, and that is going to be an issue, certainly for the first half of this race, before the sun becomes slightly more comfortable and behind some of the scenery in the background. So drivers won't necessarily have experienced that in their session so far, PMAC. And
you might have drivers who have never really experienced that full stop, because
well,
there's a broad range of drivers taking part in this Alpine ELF Europa Cup. There's, in the junior standings, those who are 22 years old or younger, they might be in their earliest days of their racing career, certainly in cars anyway. And then you have the gentleman class, where they're 45 years or older, so they might have come to racing later on in life, where this might be a new experience for them. It's certainly that sort of heading towards autumnal crispness in the sun to describe it. It's really quite intense. So might be a tinted visor required here for some of the drivers, or if they're running an open face helmet, a cool pair of shades.
This is the finale of the Alpine ELF Cup Series. We've had a cracking season to this point. The title race is back in full swing, though, with more races to come up. Paul Ricard and Monza. You did right there not to correct me. I don't. Well, or maybe you did. Yeah, the weather's superb because the temperature very pleasant indeed. It's going to be warmer tomorrow, but a high of 22 degrees Celsius. I think it's going to creep up to 26 or 27 though. Charles Roussanne is the driver to beat at this stage, but there are many out there capable of race wins, and we've had a bit of a summer break, but now in quick succession, Barcelona and then a trip to the south of France and to that track, the Royal Park that is known as Monza, the Temple of Speed, just up the road from Milan to complete their season. So some wonderful tracks to visit as well. You know, if any of these drivers have aspirations of maybe going, certainly sports car racing, but I was thinking even maybe higher than that to levels of single-seaters to Formula One, then it's always good to tick off as many of the Grade 1 circuits as possible as early in your career and get some racecraft in as well. So what I don't know, have you got a full calendar in front of you there as to whether they're all Grand Prix circuits that we visited so far this season?
Not quite. Maybe they were at one time in their life. Nogaro is the traditional curtain raiser of the championship, and also for the Renault Clio Cup, which we're going to see a little bit later on. So yeah, the Nogaro circuit they went to as well, and also to Magny-Cours too. So some really cool circuits they've been to.
Yeah, so a track with some wonderful pedigree. As I said, this grid was decided earlier on in the day. The cars were qualifying in warmer conditions at 3 p.m. Let's take a close look then at how the cars line up. So it is Charles Roussanne who's had so much success in the championship to date to start from pole position in car number 38 alongside Enzo Garashi. And then it is Leo Jose in the number 4 car with Lucas Papin alongside for Schumacher CLRT. Alexandre Gadois in his number 44 car, again a CLRT run machine. Romain Monti will join him on the 3rd row. And then it's Thibaut Bossi and Enzo Calvajido on the 4th row. Ahead of Matteo Nomblo and Florian Karumbul in the number 2 car. Then Sami Dadri and Pierre-Laurent Figuer in 36 and 63, respectively. Garcia Redest, with plenty of experience in single-mate categories, but she's done quite a lot of racing in the States as well, alongside Anthony Fournier. Then it's Philippe Bourgeois and Frédéric de Brabant on the 8th row, 15th and 16th positions. Clement Burley and Laurent Richard in 46 and 23. And then at the rear of the field, Franck Roussel and Alain Jacono in 7 and 77. All identical Alpines then, but they sound glorious, and they will be side by side for lap after lap probably, with the possible exception of Roussanne, because we are expecting maybe again a dominant performance from Charles Roussanne, but it'll depend on a good start, because it's a standing start. We cover a lot of sports car racing, PMAC, where you don't have to worry about that. But actually, when you're thinking about being, gridding up at the end of a rolling lap, it's so crucial to make sure that tyres particularly are up to temperature. Maybe that's not much of an issue because of the ambient being nice and high, but tyre temperature needs to be even higher than that.
Yeah, Michelin tyres all round for the Alpine ELF Europa Cup slick tyres. They do have the option of a wet for such conditions, but no problem at all with that this evening here in Barcelona, just coming up for 7 o'clock in the evening local time. And I couldn't think of a much better way to spend your Friday evening than slipping and sliding around the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya in an Alpine A110 race car. Seriously cool piece of kit. Just weighs just over a ton. So you're talking a quarter of a ton less than a GT3 car. So it's a seriously lightweight machine. Good horsepower, 300 horsepower through a 6-speed sequential gearbox. And there is really cool incentives as well with this championship, because the top 5 in the overall classification get prizes. They get the winner gets €2,000, which is split 50% as cash. I don't think it's actual cash. I'm sure it's a bank transfer, but you get the idea.
Not a big sack of
Not
notes.
A big sack of money, or a suitcase. Suitcase would be good, or a satchel. And the other 50% is credit at the parts truck, which usually in single-make championships, the part trucks are usually fairly busy with body panels replacements required. But I'm sure that won't be required this time around. The Alpine A110 safety car, actually very difficult to tell apart from the race cars, because from a distance they can't be told apart, because the aerodynamics, the bodywork's exactly the same. It's more underneath where the changes are, quite a bit more power than the road car. Same engine, exactly the same engine, it's just tuned to deliver more power. And the big difference is the gearbox. It's normally an automatic dual clutch gearbox in the road car, but proper sequential racing gearbox makes it a real race machine.
So Charles Roussanne, who starts from pole position, has a 25-point lead over Leo José. Now that's because of the opening 6 races of the season. This is at the halfway point, so not anything like the end of the season, with still 6 races still to go. 20 points for a race win, a point for pole, I'm thinking, and a point for fastest lap. That tends to be how things work. So out of the possible 20 points per race, Roussanne has only not won in races 2 and 3. So that was Nogaro and the Algarve, was that the south of Portugal? Otherwise, Roussanne comes here with, well, 3 wins on the bounce and could well make it 4 here in Barcelona, starting from the ideal position. But Leo José looking to perform well too. And there are 1 or 2 others who might have had a good summer break and are wanting to start the second half of the season as they mean to go on, potentially with the biggest trophy at the end of this 25-minute race, plus a lap. Everybody then working their way around to the grid. I said it was a standing start. Where did I get that from? It will be a rolling start for all of these cars that go through the grid hatchings then. And what about the best start? It's Roussanne, I think, although to his outside. A decent getaway as well from the white car, which it's very difficult to tell who is marginally ahead. But I'm going to go Roussanne in car number 38 and having to drift across to the apex of turn number 1 and actually will not lead going into that first corner. Tricky though into the first corner on this first lap, because if you overcook it, there's an escape road you have to take to. You have to go to the left-hand side of the bollard to make sure that your rejoin is nice and safe, and that automatically loses you time. But it is still the pole sitter, is it not, who is out front, heading now towards Repsol corner, turn 4 for this opening lap, Pima.
Enzo Guaracci from that front row of the grid, very nearly through that first section, got the move done on Roussanne, but the championship leader in the blue, white and red car, very patriotic of course, doing a good job to hold him off just about. Guaracci was going to try and go all the way around the outside of the endless right-hander of turn 3, but couldn't quite get it done. There's banging and barging going on in the back end of the top 10, and there's certainly no strangers to contact here in this very tightly contested championship.
Leo José may be one of the big losers there. We've got him in 3rd position in the early stages, but next time through the split will offer us a bit more information. It's definitely Charles Roussanne leading in the blue and white car number 38. Down onto the brakes. This is another big test then into turn 9, La Caixa corner, next to a significantly remodelled grandstand, which now has a roof. Not that we need that today. There's a lot of work been going on at this Barcelona circuit over the last 12 months. It's already been a cracking place to watch motor racing, as is turn 13, because now then Enzo Guaracci is massively in defensive mode to the 44 car. Is that Gadouar up to 3rd position? Didn't look like the Leo José car. No, it is Leo José. So José battling with Guaracci for 2nd place, and this is allowing Charles Roussanne into a big old lead. There are the 2nd and 3rd place cars then, nowhere near the conventional approach to turn number 1, well over to the right. Again, one trying to overtake the other, but Guaracci saw the José move coming and deliberately went well over to the right to defend.
Great move there as well from Thibaut Bossy, who was quick in practice yesterday in the wet. No such problem with wet today, but making a great move there to go up into 5th position at the back of Fiat. So fantastic stuff there to keep moving, but also good start from José in car 4 to move up into 2nd position past the number 136 of Enzo Guaracci, who drops back into 3rd. And it's a bit of a gaggle here for 2nd, 3rd and 4th between Guaracci, José and Lucas Papin as well, and then there's a bit of a gap back into 5th place. But your race leader, championship leader, Charles Roussanne, he's just in the groove right now.
Enjoying this because there's not a huge amount of pressure from behind. He'll be taking the odd glance into the rear-facing mirror, as mirrors tend to be, with Guaracci and José and Papin a long distance away. So 1.2 seconds, it might even be a 1.5 seconds now, which means that Charles can entirely focus on the road in front. One jinking out a line there into La Caixa corner, not changing position, but after the trio that are fighting over 2nd position, it's then a whole gaggle of cars basically line astern, headed by Romain Monti. and then Thibaut Bossy, Alexandre Gadouin, and Florent Carubel is involved in that too. So some shuffling of the order, basically from position 5 back to about 12th or 13th. But the second lap is led again by Charles Roussanne, who'll take some stopping in this race already.
He's looking really, really strong right now. Is Charles Roussanne. You can see why he's been such a strong force in this championship this season. As a move from the 44 machine of Alexandre Gadouin goes up into 6th place, battling away with car number 10 of Romain Monti as they go through the sweeping turn 2 and 3, back and forth they go, and then hard on the power up the hill. It's quite a climb actually up through turn 3 as well. You're climbing all the time through there.
Yeah, it's not until you walk this circuit or maybe ride a bicycle around it you realise how much gradient change there is. You often it's easy to get fooled and think that Barcelona is dead flat, but actually that's a perfect example coming out of turn 5 and into 6, 7 and 8. Really downhill underneath the access bridge. And the run into 6 and 7 has always been awkward because it's downhill and you need to turn in and brake at the same time. Brake as much as you can in a straight line. As there's the 128 car of Matteo Nomblo, not exactly taking the ideal line, but he was overtaking Carubla as he was doing so. And that sent him off the ideal route then into turn 9 itself, the blind approach, where you'll be struggling to know precisely where the apex is until you're actually on it. 128 is, as mentioned, Noblo, and then behind Cavalhido and Dari are involved as well, 72 and 38. The 02 car also involved in that kerfuffle as well. But Charles Roussanne, 1.7 seconds clear of Leo Jousset. But they are first and second in the championship. They're running first and second in the race right now.
Yeah, the form book is certainly running true at the moment, isn't it, with those two? But it's Charles Roussanne leading by just over 2 seconds, so there's still plenty of time to go here in this race. Just under 19 minutes left on the clock. This big move going up the inside now, down into turn 1. Car number 72, they're not quite able to pull it off though, just at the last moment there. That was Enzo Carvalho trying to get a move done on Florent Carubel, but couldn't quite do so. Just had the move almost, and then just didn't quite pull it off at the apex there of turn 1.
Very stiff suspension on these cars, but they do move around a lot when they brake. So the nose dives to the ground into Repsol corner, for instance. And again, Florent Carubel is under pressure from Enzo Carvalhido. Carvalhido in the 72 with the yellow sponsor on the doors. Now working its way through turn 5 at Sayat and down the hill. So they're going to arrive into 6, 7 and 8 absolutely side by side. And the 72 going for a move. Did it come off? Well, actually keeping the car roughly on the right route there was the sausage curb, using it almost like an ice bank in the Swedish rally, bouncing it back into line for Florent Carubel, and that saved him the place before Carvalhido was able to pounce. But again, Carvalhido looking better on the brakes into turn 9. Just couldn't get level though through that corner that was opened out a little bit a few years ago. So less of a hard stop now and a tight hairpin. That delivers you into turns 11 and 12 at a much faster rate. Charles Roussanne continuing to lead. We've had nearly 4 laps. We have had 4 laps for the race leader, and he leads still by 2 seconds.
So pleased that we're running the proper layout here. The last couple of corners, no chicane, just full out the last 2 right-handers. We heard in earlier on with the 24H series, Colin White saying he's flat in the Ginetta GT4 car through the last 2 corners. So it's a proper roller coaster ride through that part. But of course it's torturing the left-hand side tyres, which also get tortured at turn 3 too. So it's difficult for the tyres around here. Not such an issue with a 25-minute sprint race, but any longer than that it certainly is. The gap going up, just sitting around steady at the moment. Just over 2 seconds is the gap between Charles Roussanne and Leo Jousset.
As far as the gentleman category cars are concerned, we've had a lead change there. It's for 14th position overall, and Philippe Bourgeois able to get ahead of Frédéric de Brabant on that lap. So if you spot car number 9 on our coverage, That's now leading the gentleman category, but Frederic de Brabant's not certainly going to take that lying down, and he's got his hands full with Anthony Fournier just in behind as well in car number 41. There are actually, well, 3 main categories within this. Romain Monti runs in a class of his own in car number 10, but he's certainly finding people in the challengers to race with. And in the fastest category, the junior category, they're all the same type of car, but it depends on driver ability, driver experience as well.
Totally on life experience. So
but basically, yes.
22 years and younger is your junior category. 22 years old to 45 years old is your challenger, and anyone above that is your gentleman. I always thought you were a gentleman, Johnny, and you're not of that vintage yet.
Not quite. Not a million miles away, though, in fairness. Down into turn 14, and Charles Roussanne leading by 2.3 seconds over Leo José. 0.4 of a second the gap back to Enzo Garacci, so that's not finished yet, is it? Leo José wants a bit of peace to try and draw in the race leader and outscore Roussanne to make sure that it keeps it interesting for the remaining 6 races, but he's finding that difficult. To the outside now, Carvalho. Oh, can he get the move done on Florian Carouble? Not quite, because Carouble was keeping Carvalho really honest through turn 1 and more crucially 2. And because Carouble didn't get on the brakes there and allow the 72 car through, he kept his foot in through the right-hand element of that difficult sequence that starts this Barcelona lap. And Carouble stays in 9th position, therefore. Again, cars 2 abreast, though. I did mention that we'll have this lap after lap, maybe further down the order. And these 2 particularly making those comments very honest indeed. Clément Berly ahead of Gosaya Redest, it looks like, in car number 3. No?
Clément Berly and Sami Dari battling over the last spot in the top 10. 36 plays 46, Dari 36, Berly 46, and they're just side by side all the way through. They're quite compact cars as well, these Alpine A110s, and Barcelona circuit's quite wide, so you've plenty of room and plenty of the converging lines that you can take. Enzo Carvalho and car 72 right on the tailpipe of Florian Carouble, but flashing the lights away, flashing those beautiful iconic Alpine 4 headlamps, just like the old A110 of the early 1970s. It was won the Monte Carlo rally. It just looks absolutely superb.
And there is Clément Berly, quite right, in the blue and white, fending off Sami Dari in the number 36 car. So Dari, well, scored as ahead. No, that's briefly was the case. I think as they came into sector 3, Dari was marginally in front, but Clément Berly cementing that position towards the end of the lap. It's 11th. So Berly, Dari, and then Gosaya Redest in the number 3. Philippe Bourgeois leading the gentleman category, still ahead of Fred de Brabant. But there's only 0.8 of a second between there. De Brabant's just done his best lap of the race, so feeling that he wants to get back in front in that gentleman division. Still the scope to do that. Anthony Fournier's right there, though, as well. So if you catch a glimpse of the 9 car ahead of 1, 2, 3 and 41, they're all dicing for the drivers with a little more life experience, as you expertly put it a short moment ago, P-Mac.
Leo José just looking like he's just running out of grip a little bit in second position. He's got Enzo Garacci right behind him, and coming around the really long part between turn 3 and 4, he was just running a little bit wide there in second position. So Garacci in third, right on the tailpipe and close, I would say. Just as I say that, José responds with his personal best second sector. So he's saying, "You be quiet, Mackay, in the commentary box. I've got this perfectly under control."
But clearly grip's out there at the moment, because there are a number of cars doing their best lap of the race to date. We are over halfway through now. Well, about halfway through when you bolt on the extra lap, in fact, to the 25 minutes. Just under 12 minutes still to go. And much better to be using, as you've mentioned, the iteration of this circuit minus the chicane. The chicane does present a challenge, but often it presents a chance to unfortunately make contact with another car as well if you've misjudged it, whereas now they're free-flowing coming out of turn 13 and then out of 14 onto the just slightly more than a 1 kilometre start-finish straight, and then that makes the approach into turns 1 and 2 all the more awkward because you're arriving there at a very high rate of knots. Charles Roussanne continuing to really measure that gap, keep it at about 2.5 seconds. So he's dictating the pace, but mindful that he doesn't want to push like crazy because he'll have no tyres left by the end of it. Michelin producing a very good racing time, but it is designed for a sprint race such as this.
Well, he's just put in the best lap of the race, 152.717, to move 2.7 seconds ahead of Leo Jousset, who in turn has Enzo Garacci and Lucas Papin right behind him, and Papin looking racy in fourth, looking to try and get onto the podium here. He had a podium back at Portimao, his first ever podium in the class, and driving for the CLRT, the Combe Ledegar racing team, who former double Porsche Super Cup champion Larry Ten Voorde switched to after many years with GP Elite in the Porsche Super Cup, and then won the championship straight first season with the teams. He's now a treble Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup champion. So again, one of the most competitive single make series, Alpine A110 Cup Combe Ledegar racing team here as well. So a great outfit to be with.
Yeah, and then there's a ladder system potentially to stick with the same team and move up through the sports car ranks. I think it's fair to say these are mini sports cars effectively, and they will give you a real nice bedrock to begin the springboard into higher powered and larger GT machinery, but certainly a great place to learn some racecraft as well.
Will be a perfect base to move up into a GT4 car, and I believe that's the pyramid that Renault Sport want to promote. 136 car looking for a move up the inside. Enzo Garacci's thinking that third is not good enough for me. I'm going to try and go for second here on Leo Jousset into turn 1, but can't quite get the move done. But yeah, the Alpine Renault Sport pyramid, you can start off in Clio Cup, move up to the A110 Cup car, and then potentially into GT4 as well. There's an Alpine A110 GT4 car. Or you can go rallying in an Alpine RGT. That would be one.
You could, yeah, completely go off-piste and off the sealed surfaces as well in some cases. Round the outside, that's not going to quite work though for Lucas Papin. But Papin providing enough of a distraction to Enzo Garacci that means that he now gives Leo Jousset a bit more opportunity to focus on the road in front and try and close that gap, which has grown now to 3 seconds for Charles Roussanne. So Roussanne continuing to manage the gap, extend it where possible, helped by the fastest lap of the race, and way out wide there was Leo Jousset. So it's still very much 3 for the 2 remaining steps on the podium. And these 3 have checked out from Thibaut Bossy now, who leads the Challenger class. So Bossy's got ahead of Gadrois in the 85. That happened a few laps ago. Thibaut Bossy with some experience in these cars now, making that count. But maybe we shouldn't be hugely surprised about the difference between the top 4 cars that are all junior racers, and then the Challengers in behind. Gentlemen racers still towards the rear of the field, 14th and 15th positions. There's a 1.1 second gap now between Philippe Bourgeois and Fred de Brabant. But Anthony Fournier is still all over the back of the 1-2-3 car for second in the gentleman category.
And for Thibaut Bossy, the leader in the Challenger category, second in the championship. Right, oh, contact there as car number 4 gets moved off the road there at turn 1. Actually, that's Garacci and Jousset battling over second place.
Papin's got them both, I think.
Oh, wow.
Because they both ran off the road after that contact, and Lucas Papin said, well, if you're not going to stick to the actual racetrack, then I'll take second place from you. So a great opportunistic move there from the 08 car. But you're quite right, it was a late outbraking manoeuvre from Garacci, which was possibly only ever going to end in a bit of contact, although Leo Jousset, for me, closed the door a bit too late. How did you see this, P-Mac?
Pretty much as you called it there, Johnny. The 136 of Enzo Garacci made it to the apex with no problem, and then all of a sudden car number 4, Leo, as you say, just sort of turned across on him, really. Luckily, they both got through there okay, but the big winner was, of course, Lucas Papan, who said, thank you very much, Merry Christmas to me, and through to, I said, you buy one, you get one free, and he's through into second place.
Absolutely right. Well, you've got to be there to take the opportunity, and he'd actually fallen back a little bit from Geraci. Now some lively approaches to Le Caisse corner on this, the 10th lap for Thibaut Bossy and Alexandre Gadouin, and they are duking it out for the lead within the challengers as well. So you might be thinking, yeah, they're 5th and 6th in the race, but there is a separate trophy and different points as well for the challenger entered cars. So 85 for Thibaut and Alexandre in the 44, right on his boot lid. And these two will not be going round as quick as they might on their own. So it might actually haul in Romain Monti as well in car number 10.
So number 136, Enzo Geraci, keen to make up for the delay of the previous lap. And actually they've dropped the number 4 of Leo Jusset a little bit. So Jusset, he maybe got a little bit of an issue, because it's easy to bend steering if you get a contact to the to the front wheels. It can easily bend the steering, and that can put you off. There's just under 6 minutes to go. So is Leo Jusset in 4th place now? Is he in a little bit of trouble, or is it just a minor blip? Might just be a minor blip, but Papa in 2nd, Geraci in 3rd, and Jusset in 4th. But while all that bickering's been going on, the gap is at the front, with our championship leader Charles Roussanne up to 4.2 seconds.
Gadouin on the brakes up the inside of Thibaut Bossy. That almost happened in turns 1 and 2, but Bossy continued to lead, I think. But then, late on the brakes, Alexandre Gadouin in the all-black 44 managed to just slither his way up the inside at Repsol corner. The car looks very responsive indeed in the hands of Alexandre Gadouin, who has spent some laps ahead of Thibaut Bossy. And Bossy needs to be concerned about Romain Monti now as well. It won't affect his challenger position if Monti gets through, but the difficulty is you've then got an obstacle preventing you from re-overtaking Gadouin in the near future. So Monti wanted to clear the 85 of Thibaut Bossy in the braking area for turn 9, and overlaps the red and black car, but can't get through then as they head to the Banc de Sabadell corner at turn 12. Again, this is a headache that really Gadouin does not need, because he wants to get ahead of Bossy again in the remaining, what have we got, 4 minutes to go. However, the last thing he wants is to allow Romain Monti through.
So Gadouin into the lead then of the challengers ahead of Thibaut Bossy. And the battle for second place, it's still raging on then, with Lucas Papan still hanging on to that position that did he inherit it? I suppose you could say he did after the little disagreement between Geraci and Jusset. But Geraci all over the back of Papan, but they've seemed to have dropped Jusset a little bit. He seems to just faded a little in 4th place. So he'll need to really get back into the rhythm if he can, with just under 3.5 minutes to go. It's gone by like that.
Yeah, these races tend to do that with so much action and not a lot of time to right a mistake that you might have made. I wonder whether the incident at the first corner might be investigated after the race. There was contact, but actually both cars went off the road, and Lucas Papin, who kept things neat and tidy and clean, more to the point, was able to take the spot. Jusset on the tail of Geraci. Well, less so, I would agree, that Enzo Geraci's got a bit further now down the road. Gadouin and Bossy confirmed in that order for the challengers. 44 5th, and the 85 car of Bossy is in 6th position. Now then.
Well.
Yes. I mentioned penalties and things being looked at. Go on, what do we know?
Car number 136, Enzo Geraci, causing an avoidable collision, 5-second time penalty.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay, well. That's going to drop Geraci down the order big time. That's going to drop him out of the podium position, and that'll put Jusset back onto the podium. Meanwhile, there's a big old ding-dong going down for 9th position between the number 128 of Matteo Nublo and car number 2 of Florian Corruble. Whoa, is they getting big contact there and wiggling all over the shop as they come through the final 2 corners.
Yeah, not the place you want to be doing that, considering the start-finish straight is so important to a good lap time and maintaining position. 85 occupying the centre of the racetrack into turn number 1, still trying to keep behind Romain Monti. So that is Thibaut Bossi again, trying to stick with Gadouin as much as possible for the lead within the Challenger clash. But I'm now just trying to remember back to that incident that involved Enzo Guaracci and Leo Jose. It was Guaracci that was late on the brakes, is that right?
Yeah.
Rather than the man who closed the door, who I was actually criticising initially, closing the door a bit too late. Now, does race direction therefore think Guaracci was never going to make the corner? So approached into turn 1, not braking enough, and it was only, well, even after contact, Guaracci wasn't able to stay on the track. So do they think he was marginally out of control and could have avoided the contact? Needed to be in a stronger position, and the overtake was a little too forceful. It's an interesting decision. Lucas Papin, we know, was there to capitalise, and the gap to Charles Roussanne continues to grow at 3.5 seconds, but Guaracci will be given a 5-second penalty at the end of the race. Is that right?
Correct.
So rather than having to come in for a stop-go penalty, anything as draconian as that, it'll be a 5-second penalty added, but that will put him behind Leo Jose. So it's effectively reversing the positions and saying that that place change did not happen unless Guaracci can build himself a 5-second gap. He's got it up to 1.6 now. At 14 seconds left on the clock. A puff of gravel dust there. Where's the race leader? Just crossed the line to begin lap 14. So that'll be as far as we know. And then we do an extra lap, don't we, at the end of this one. So Roussanne will get effectively the last lap board at the end of this, the 14th lap, making it a 15-lap race.
So we'll go about as far into overtime as we can go, more or less, because it's just gone over the line. So, but I don't think it will bother Charles Roussanne at all. He's got a 3.9 second advantage over Lucas Papin. It's been an absolute masterclass. You know you've done a good job if you win the race, and we haven't mentioned, you don't get mentioned much on TV or on radio because it's just been a total masterclass. Charles Roussanne, 5 wins out of 7 so far this season in the Alpine ELF Europa Cup. A real young talent, doing just a superb job and really coming to grips with this car. And this is the thing, there's such a big marketplace out there with GT4 machinery, particularly all over the world. Every country there's national championships you get involved, and I think if you can prove that you can win consistently and put really good pace in a championship like this in the Alpine ELF Europa Cup, it shows you that you know how a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car works. 300 horsepower, yes, it's a little bit less than a GT4 car, but it's not night and day. And I think it's a great place to prove yourself and say, look at me, I'm here with my helmet in hands, give me a drive, put me on your team.
Out of turn 14, Charles Roussanne will now appear, and we were quite right. No checkered flag this time around. One more to go then. Slightly less than 3 miles. 4 and a bit kilometres around this circuit, Barcelona, Catalunya circuit.
Do you know, there is an off chance here. If Leo Jose has a really poor final lap, he may not actually get 3rd position from Enzo Guaracci. So Enzo Guaracci is 2.8 seconds ahead of Leo Jose going on to the final lap. He's got a 5-second penalty hanging over him.
Yes.
So if Jose were to have a really poor lap, he might still hang on to the podium somehow. So I wonder if Jose is maybe nursing a problem from that contact.
Well, bent steering would certainly fit with that. You were suggesting that it could easily have bent maybe a steering arm or something else suspension related. I'm sure neither car is particularly easy to drive after what was a fair old thump at turn 1. Lucas Papin, though, is laughing all the way to 2nd place at this stage. But yes, Guaracci needing now only to find 2.2 seconds to maintain 3rd position over Leo Jose. Alexandre Gadouin has built himself a 1.7 second gap now back to Thibaut Bossi to continue to lead the Challenger class. And in the gentleman division, it's 1.3 favouring Philippe Bourgeois in car number 9 ahead of Anthony Fournier. So Fournier has maybe struggled towards the latter end, the latter period of this race, even though he was 0.3 of a second away. No, I beg your pardon, he got ahead of de Brabant. It was de Brabant that he was pressurising, and he has finally got ahead. The race leader, though, Charles Roussanne, has, other than the first few corners, never actually been headed, and he had to weather that storm early on, but then has built himself a very tidy lead, which will sit around 4 seconds. The 4 headlights on the Alpine that Charles Roussanne drives flash then in celebration to win ahead of Lucas Papin, and Leo José timed as being ahead of Enzo Guarasci once that 5-second time penalty is incorporated. And he was only 1.2 seconds shy, Guarasci, of actually making sure that he finished in 3rd position. So he did extend the gap, but just not quite enough. We said he had 2.2 to find. He found an extra second on that slowing, on that final lap, in fact, but it wasn't quite enough. 1.2 seconds adrift, and Guarasci just misses the podium.
Question is he aware of it yet? I wonder.
Well, I wondered whether the team had been able to communicate to Guarasci that he needed to up the pace, maybe just from the pit boards to say, you've got a 5-second penalty in race, can you offer us a little bit more? And will the tyres give you enough life to the end of the race? But just push like crazy if you can for Guarasci to finish ahead of Leo José. He needed probably 2 more laps to do a proper job on that. And he might well also be a little confused as to why the decision fell that way, but race control often have a few extra replays, a few extra angles to examine that, and maybe they say, well, all day that was Leo José's corner, and the move was just too erratic from Enzo Guarasci. We bow to their greater knowledge, of course. The 5-second penalty delivered, assessed to Guarasci, and he ends up finishing in 4th. But Lucas Papin's the big winner there to net himself 2nd place points. Really nice dicing for the other categories, though, namely between Gadouin and Bossy in the Challengers, and that Anthony Fournier-Fred de Brabant scrap eventually going to Fournier in the 41 to finish 2nd, but Philippe Bourgeois was comfortably ahead of those two to take the win, PMAC.
Important points for Bourgeois in the gentleman's standings, who was 4th coming into this round, 23 points in arrears to Frédéric de Brabant, who finished in 3rd there. So for Bourgeois to get that win, very important in the gentleman standings. In the challengers, Alexandre Gadouin didn't have any championship axe to grind as such, but Thibaut Bossy definitely did. He finished in 2nd, ahead, crucially, of Florian Carouble. So that championship is almost neck and neck in the challengers. Carouble and Bossy very, very close, and they'll be back tomorrow morning to see who leaves Barcelona with a smile on their face.
Yeah, the 2nd Alpine ELF Europe Cup is due to start at 9:20, again for 25 minutes plus an extra lap to try and get it within the half an hour of a race duration. Very special podium here at Barcelona. The base of it is effectively a track map, and the 3 steps of the podium sit right within it, like on the main start-finish straight, if you like. We've got a wonderful view of that from our commentary position. This is where the winners of the various categories within the 24 hours will stand later on in the weekend. And Charles Roussanne will make it 4 wins in a row then. And as you said, 5 for the season so far. The question is, how many will he end up with at the end of a 12-race season? Scope, of course, to repeat the feat today. He's the quickest driver here this weekend, that's fair to say, but you never can tell in a 25-minute sprint race. Lots can happen, and sometimes an incident that's not of your making can end your race. So the points aren't all in the bag yet for Charles Roussanne, but it's good to have 20 there. I wouldn't be surprised to see him also setting the fastest lap of the race. I wonder whether I can drill down into the data to find out whether he was able to do that. Best laps.
No, Papin was the fastest.
Ah, interesting.
154.444.
No, they were the last laps completed. It was a 152.7 that Roussanne was the quickest by a tenth over Lucas Papin. So he'll get the point for pole, a point for fastest lap and the 20 points for the race win. Charles Roussanne for VPS Racing, then victorious in car number 38 by actually 3.8 seconds as he slowed down on that final lap. Lucas Papin, though, will be surely the most smiley on the podium to have benefited and gained 2 places in one move over Leo Jousset and Enzo Guaracci. Remember, they were reversed in race with a 5-second penalty to Guaracci because of the contact. Alexandre Gadouin wins his class, the Challengers, for Schumacher CLRT ahead of Thibaut Bossy, his fellow category runner, number 85. Then Romain Monti and Enzo Carvalho completes the top 8. Florian Carouble and Matteo Nomble will finish 9th and 10th ahead of Sami Dari and Clement Burley. Then it's Garcia Rodest. Philippe Bourgeois wins the gentleman division, the Belgian racer, up against Anthony Fournier and Fred de Brabant. Then Laurent Richard, Alain Jacono, Pierre-Laurent Figuet and Franck Roussel did get to the race finish. Yes, so everybody that started the race was able to complete it. And as the podium presentation is being prepared, we can revisit some of those key moments from race 1 this weekend for the Alpine ELF Europa Cup. For that, though. So very, very happy indeed, the race winner for today. And can Roussanne do it tomorrow? It's an early start here at Barcelona for race 2 for the Alpine ELF Europa Cup. 9:20 will be the start of the race, but we're on air 10 minutes before that. It'll be Peter Mackay and me, Johnny Palmer, again for 25 minutes plus a lap for round 8 of this year's championship. Join us then.
Peut-être qu'un jour, il y aura des transports en commun absolument partout. Peut-être qu'un jour, on pourra se téléporter en vacances ou ramener ses enfants de l'école en drone. Peut-être qu'un jour, on pourra tous travailler à distance. Peut-être qu'un jour, on n'aura plus besoin de sa voiture. Mais aujourd'hui, pour des millions de Français, elle est essentielle. Alors pour la rendre plus simple, économique et solidaire, on a créé Roule. Roule, le club automobile ouvert à tous.